Hello and welcome back to my blog. We're on to part 9, the creative process in the individual, Troward. And that's the second and last part of chapter 4, the manifestation of the life principle. And moreover, at the present time, a new order of experience is beginning to open out to us. For well-authenticated instances of the cure of disease by the invisible power of the Spirit are steadily increasing in number. The facts are now too patent to be denied. What we want is a better knowledge of the power which accounts for them. And if this beginning is now with us, by what reason can we limit it? The difference between the healing of disease and the renewal of the entire organism and the perpetuation of life is only a difference of degree and not of kind, so that the actual experience of increasing numbers shows the working of a principle to which we can logically set no limits. If we get the steps of the creative process clearly into our minds, we shall see why we have hitherto had such small results. Spirit creates by self-contemplation. Therefore, what it contemplates itself as being, that it becomes. You are individualized spirit. Therefore, what you contemplate as the law of your being becomes the law of your being. Hence, contemplate a law of death arising out of the forces of the material reacting against the power of the spirit and overcoming it, and you impress this mode of self-recognition upon spirit in yourself. Of course, you cannot alter its inherent nature, but you cause it to work under negative conditions and thus make it produce negative results so far as you yourself are concerned. But reverse the process and contemplate a law of life as inherent in the very being of the spirit, and therefore as inherent in spirit in yourself, and contemplate the forces of the material as practically non-existent in the creative process, because they are products of it and not causes. Look at things in this way, and you will impress a corresponding conception upon the spirit which, by the law of reciprocity, thus enters into self-contemplation on these lines from the standpoint of your own individuality. And then, by the nature of the creative process, a corresponding externalization is bound to take place. Thus, our initial question, how did anything come into existence at all, brings us to the recognition of a law of life which we may each specialize for ourselves. And in the degree to which we specialize, if we shall find the creative principle at work within us, building up a healthier and happier personality in mind, body, and circumstances. Only we must learn to distinguish the vehicles of spirit from spirit itself, for the distinction has very important bearings. What distinguishes the vehicles from the spirit is the law of growth. The spirit is the formless principle of life, and the vehicle is a form in which this principle functions. Now, the vehicle is a projection by the spirit of substance coordinate with the natural order of the plane on which the vehicle functions, and therefore requires to be built up conformably to that order. This building up is what we speak of as growth, and since the principle which causes the growth is the individualized spirit, the rate at which the growth will go on will depend on the amount of vitalizing energy the spirit puts into it. And the amount of vitalizing energy will depend on the degree in which the individualized spirit appreciates its own livingness, and finally, the degree of this appreciation will depend on the quality of the individual's perception of the great all-originating spirit as reflecting itself in him, and thus making his contemplation of it nothing else than the creative self-contemplation of the spirit proceeding from an individual and personal center. We must therefore not omit the law of growth in the vehicle from our conception of the working of the spirit. As a matter of fact, the vehicle has nothing to say in the matter, for it is simply a projection from the spirit. But for this very reason, its formation will be slow or rapid in exact proportion to the individual spirit's vitalizing conception. We could imagine a degree of vitalizing conception that would produce the corresponding form instantaneously, but at present we must allow for the weakness of our spiritual power. Not as thinking it by any means incapable of accomplishing its object, but as being far slower in operation now than we hope to see it in the future. And so we must not allow ourselves to be discouraged, but must hold our thought knowing that it is doing its creative work and that the corresponding growth is slowly but surely taking place. Thus following the divine precept that men ought always to pray and not to faint. Gradually, as we gain experience on these new lines, our confidence in the power of the Spirit will increase, and we shall be less inclined to argue from the negative side of things, and thus the hindrances to the inflow of the originating Spirit will be more and more removed, and greater results will be obtained. If we would have our minds clear on this subject of manifestation, we should remember its threefold nature. First, the general life principle. Secondly, the localization of this principle in the individual. And thirdly, the growth of the vehicle as it is projected by the individualized spirit, with more or less energy. It is a sequence of progressive condensation from the undifferentiated universal spirit to the ultimate and outermost vehicle, a truth enshrined in the esoteric maxim that matter is spirit at its lowest level. The forms thus produced are in true accord with the general order of nature on the particular plane where they occur, and are therefore perfectly different from forms temporarily consolidated out of material drawn from other living organisms. These latter phantasmal bodies are held together only by an act of concentrated volition, and can therefore only be maintained for a short time and with effort, while the body which the individualized spirit or ego builds for itself is produced by a perfectly natural process and does not require any effort to sustain it, since it is kept in touch with the whole system of the planet by the continuous and effortless action of the individual's subconscious mind. This is where the action of subconscious mind as the builder of the body comes in. Subconscious mind acts in accordance with the aggregate of suggestion impressed upon it by the conscious mind. And if this suggestion is that of perfect harmony with the physical laws of the planet, then a corresponding building by the subconscious mind will take place, a process which, so far from implying any effort, consists rather in a restful sense of unity with nature. And if to this sense of union with the soul of nature, that universal subconscious mind which holds in the cosmos the same place that the subconscious mind does in ourselves, if to this there be superadded a sense of union with the all-creating spirit from which the soul of nature flows, then through the medium of the individual's subconscious mind, such specialized effects can be produced in his body as to transcend our past experiences without in any way violating the order of the universe. The old law was the manifestation of the principle of life working under constricted conditions. The new law is the manifestation of the same principle working under expanding conditions. Thus it is that, though God never changes, we are said to increase with the increase of God. And that's the end of chapter 4. More tomorrow. Make it a great day, and bye for now.